Chosen one, listen to me very carefully and do not close this before it finishes. God did not let you find this message by accident tonight. Before your head touches that pillow, heaven wants you to know something that has been sitting on your chest for weeks, and you have not been able to name it. Your spirit already knows. Your body already knows. Tonight, the truth finally catches up to what your soul has been whispering to you in the quiet hours. This is not a random video. This is not a coincidence pushed to you by an algorithm. This is a divine appointment, and you were meant to be sitting exactly here at exactly this hour, reading exactly these words. You have been carrying something heavy, and you have been carrying it alone. You have smiled through meetings while your chest felt tight. You have said, "I'm fine," through a clenched jaw more times than you can count. You have laid in bed at night, feeling a strange, restless ache that no amount of sleep seems to fix. This is not ordinary tiredness, chosen one. This is not something a vacation or a nap will cure. What you have been feeling is spiritual exhaustion, and tonight, before you sleep, God wants you to finally understand where it came from. You wake up already drained, even after 8 hours of sleep. Your shoulders carry a weight that has no physical explanation. You walk into certain rooms and feel an immediate need to leave, even though nothing visibly happened. You look at your phone and feel your stomach tighten before you even open the message. Your intuition has been screaming at you, and you have been talking yourself out of listening. You told yourself you were overreacting. You told yourself you were too sensitive, too dramatic, too much. But you were never too much. You were simply awake in a world full of people who are still asleep. This is the truth heaven wants you to sit with tonight. You are a high-frequency soul. Your energy runs on a different current than most of the people around you. When you walk into a room, you do not just observe it, you feel it. You absorb the tension before anyone says a word. You sense the dishonesty behind a smile before it is spoken out loud. This is not a curse. This is a gift, but it is a gift that has made you a target for people who do not know how to generate their own light. So instead, they learn how to take yours. There has been a drain on your energy, chosen one, and it has not been random. Someone in your life, someone who calls you close, someone who has access to your softness, has been feeding off your peace without you ever fully realizing it. It might be a friend who only calls when they need something and disappears the moment you need support. It might be a family member who criticizes you quietly, then wraps it in the language of just being honest. It might be someone who smiles at you in public and drains you the second you are alone with them. You have felt the shift every single time. You walk in calm and you walk out anxious. You walk in hopeful and you walk out doubting yourself. That shift is not in your imagination. That shift is real. And tonight, God is asking you to stop pretending you don't feel it. You have spent so long explaining away what your body already understood. You called it a bad mood. You called it stress. You called it, maybe I'm just too emotional today. But your intuition was never confused. Your intuition has been trying to protect you this entire time, and the exhaustion you feel is not weakness, it is evidence. It is proof that your spirit is fighting a battle your mind has not fully named yet. Tonight, before you sleep, that battle gets named. Tonight, the fog lifts. Heaven does not want you walking into another night carrying a burden that was never yours to carry. You were not created to shrink yourself so someone else could feel bigger. You were not created to apologize for a light that makes insecure people uncomfortable. You were not created to keep offering warmth to people who only know how to take it and give nothing back. This ends tonight, chosen one, not tomorrow, not next week. Tonight, in the quiet, while you are reading these words, something inside you is being realigned. Let's talk about how they operate, because you deserve to see it clearly before you close your eyes tonight. The people who drain your light rarely announce themselves. They do not walk in looking like villains. They walk in looking like the people who are supposed to love you the most. They know exactly how to use your empathy against you. They know that if they cry, you will comfort them, even after they hurt you. They know that if they apologize just enough, just convincingly enough, you will give them another chance, and another, and another. They are not sorry, they are strategic. And the saddest part is, you kept forgiving them because forgiveness is who you are, not because they ever deserved it. You have made excuses for people who never once made room for you. You told yourself they were going through a hard season. You told yourself they didn't mean it that way. You told yourself if you just tried a little harder, loved a little louder, gave a little more, they would finally treat you the way you have always treated them. But chosen one, that day never came, did it? Because the problem was never your effort. The problem was that you were pouring your light into a container that was never designed to hold it. Some people are not empty because life has been hard on them. Some people are empty because they have chosen again and again to take instead of build. Heaven sees every quiet sacrifice you have made for people who never even said thank you. Heaven sees the nights you stayed up worrying about someone who has never once lost sleep worrying about you. Heaven sees the times you defended someone in a room they weren't even in, while they were somewhere else, tearing your name apart. Nothing you have given has gone unnoticed, even when it felt unnoticed, even when it felt like you were shouting into an empty room. God was there in that room the entire time. Now here is the part they never expected you to discover. The very same sensitivity they mocked, the very same softness they exploited, is the exact thing that is about to protect you. Because a soul as aware as yours cannot be tricked forever. Something in you has been shifting these last few weeks, hasn't it? You've been feeling less patient with disrespect. You've been feeling less willing to shrink. You've been catching yourself before you apologize for things that were never your fault. That is not coldness growing inside you, chosen one. That is discernment. That is your spirit waking all the way up. They made one mistake in all of this. They mistook your kindness for weakness. They mistook your patience for permission. They believed that because you kept coming back, kept forgiving, kept showing up, that you would do it forever, no matter how much of yourself you had to sacrifice to keep the peace. But heaven does not build chosen ones who stay asleep forever. Heaven builds chosen ones who wake up exactly when they are needed most. And chosen one, that moment is tonight. You are allowed to stop explaining your boundaries to people who only respected you when you had none. You are allowed to walk away from conversations that leave your chest tight and your hands shaking. You are allowed to protect your peace even if someone calls you dramatic for doing it. Nothing about protecting your own spirit requires anyone else's approval, not their understanding, not their agreement, not even their forgiveness. You are the one being called to protect your own light tonight. And that calling did not come from social media. That calling came from God. There is a specific kind of fatigue that only comes from being unseen by the people who were supposed to see you the most. Maybe it was a parent who never once said they were proud of you, even when you had every reason to expect it. Maybe it was a partner who made you feel like your needs were an inconvenience. Maybe it was a friend who only remembered you when they needed a favor. Whatever the source, heaven wants you to know tonight that their inability to see your worth was never proof that your worth was small. It was proof of how dim their own perception had become. You were never too sensitive for love. You were too sensitive for people who never learned how to love without conditions attached. There is a difference, chosen one, and tonight that difference is finally becoming clear to you. Real love does not drain you until you have nothing left. Real love does not require you to disappear so someone else feels comfortable. Real love does not punish you for having needs. If what you have experienced left you smaller, quieter, more anxious, more apologetic, that was never love. That was extraction wearing love's clothing. Heaven is showing you tonight exactly what was happening in the shadows, because you deserve clarity before you rest. Every time they smiled at you while whispering behind your back, heaven recorded it. Every time they praised you to your face and diminished you the moment you left the room, heaven recorded it. Every time they told others you were too much while secretly relying on your strength to hold everything together, heaven recorded it. Nothing done in secret stays hidden forever. Every shadow eventually meets the light, and their shadow is meeting the light right now, tonight, as you read this. You do not have to confront them. You do not have to explain yourself to them one more time. You do not owe anyone a dramatic goodbye speech or a final chance to understand you. Sometimes the most powerful thing a chosen one can do is simply walk away in silence and let heaven handle the rest. You have spent enough energy trying to make people understand your worth. From tonight forward, your energy goes toward people and places that already recognize it. Let's talk about what happens next, because this part matters more than the pain that brought you here. The exhaustion you have felt was never meant to be permanent. It was a signal, not a sentence. Your body was speaking the language your spirit needed you to finally understand. Now that you understand it, the drain begins to reverse. This is how spiritual restoration works. It rarely arrives loud. It arrives quiet, like a long exhale after holding your breath for far too long. You are going to notice small shifts first. You will start sleeping a little deeper. You will start waking up a little lighter. You will start noticing when someone's energy feels off before you even fully engage with them. And instead of ignoring that feeling like you used to, you will honor it. This is your intuition being restored to full strength. This is what happens when a chosen one finally stops abandoning themselves to keep other people comfortable. Some people from this season of your life will not make it into the next one, and that is not a loss, chosen one. That is protection. Not everyone who walked beside you was meant to walk with you forever. Some people were only ever meant to teach you what you will never again accept. Their exit from your life is not punishment for you. It is release. You are being released from a spiritual assignment that was never yours to carry permanently. Heaven wants you to know something clearly tonight before you close your eyes. Your softness was never the problem. Your softness is sacred. It is one of the rarest things a person can carry through a hard world without losing themselves entirely. What needs to change is not who you are, it is who has access to who you are. Boundaries are not the opposite of love. Boundaries are what protect love from being drained dry by people who never intended to reciprocate it. You may still feel the ache tonight. Healing does not erase the memory of what happened. It simply removes its power over you. You may still remember every moment you were dismissed, every time you were made to feel invisible. Every night you cried quietly so no one would ask what was wrong. Those memories can stay. What cannot stay is the belief that you deserved any of it. You did not. You were simply a bright soul standing too close to people who had forgotten how to generate their own warmth. There is a reason you are reading this tonight and not some other night. Heaven's timing is never accidental. Whatever tomorrow holds for you, whatever conversation, decision, or moment of clarity is coming, you are being prepared for it right now, in this exact reading. You are being spiritually fortified before you even know you will need it. This is how divine protection often works. It arrives quietly, before the storm, not loudly after it. Chosen one, before you sleep tonight, God wants you to release the guilt you have been carrying for choosing yourself. You are allowed to stop attending events that drain you. You are allowed to stop answering messages that make your chest tighten. You are allowed to stop performing peace when what you actually feel is exhaustion. None of this makes you unkind. None of this makes you selfish. It makes you someone who finally understands that your energy is sacred. And sacred things are meant to be protected, not endlessly given away. You have spent years being the strong one. You have been the one everyone calls when they are falling apart, yet somehow, when you are the one falling apart, the room goes quiet. Tonight, Heaven wants you to know that your strength was never meant to come at the cost of your own well-being. You are allowed to need support too. You are allowed to be tired. You are allowed to not have it all figured out. Being chosen does not mean being invincible. It means being deeply, intentionally cared for by something far greater than the people who overlooked you. Think about every time you doubted yourself because someone else's opinion felt louder than your own intuition. Think about every time you shrank your voice in a room because you were afraid of being called difficult. Think about every time you swallowed the truth just to keep the peace, while the other person never once considered keeping peace with you. That season is closing. You do not have to shrink to be loved. You do not have to disappear to be accepted. The people who require your silence to feel comfortable were never worth the silence in the first place. There is a shift happening in you right now that you may not fully be able to name yet, but you can feel it. It feels like less patience for disrespect. It feels like a quiet refusal to explain yourself over and over to people who were never really listening. It feels like choosing rest over proving your worth to people who already decided not to see it. This shift is not coldness. This shift is clarity. And clarity is one of the most powerful gifts heaven can give a chosen one. You were never meant to spend your whole life convincing people to treat you with basic respect. Real love does not require convincing. Real friendship does not require constant proof. Real family does not require you to earn a place that should have been yours from birth. If you have spent years convincing someone to simply be kind to you, that exhaustion you feel is not a personal failure. It is the natural result of trying to force soil that was never fertile to grow something beautiful. Tonight, before you sleep, imagine setting that burden down. Not forever, just for tonight. Imagine what it would feel like to close your eyes without replaying every unkind word, every dismissive glance, every moment you were made to feel small. You do not have to solve everything tonight. You do not have to forgive everyone tonight. You simply have to allow yourself one night of peace, one night where the weight is not entirely yours to hold, because heaven is holding it with you. You are stronger than the version of yourself who first walked into this pain, chosen one. You survived seasons that could have hardened you completely, and yet somehow your heart is still soft enough to read these words and feel them. That softness is not fragility. That softness is proof that nothing they did to you was powerful enough to destroy the core of who you are. You are still here. You are still capable of love. You are still capable of hope. That alone is a quiet, undeniable victory. Let's speak honestly about forgiveness for a moment, because heaven does not want you to misunderstand it. Forgiveness is not permission for someone to hurt you again. Forgiveness is not pretending the pain did not happen. Forgiveness is simply releasing yourself from the burden of carrying resentment for people who are not carrying any guilt at all. You can forgive someone and still never speak to them again. You can forgive someone and still protect yourself completely from them. Forgiveness was never designed to reopen a door. It was designed to free you from standing guard at it forever. You have been standing guard at painful doors for far too long, chosen one, guarding the memory, guarding the anger, guarding the what if, and the why did they, and the how could they. Tonight you are allowed to step back from that door. You do not need to keep watch over pain that has already taught you everything it came to teach you. Let it rest. Let yourself rest. Heaven wants you to understand something important about the people who hurt you. Their behavior was never a reflection of your worth. It was a reflection of their own unresolved brokenness. Hurting people often hurt the people closest to them, not because those people deserve it, but because closeness creates opportunity, and broken people rarely know how to be close to someone without eventually causing damage. This does not excuse what happened to you. It simply removes you from the center of the story. You were not the reason. You were simply within reach. You do not have to carry the responsibility of fixing someone who never asked to be fixed and never intended to change. You are not required to be anyone's healing project. You are not required to stay in pain, so someone else can eventually learn a lesson at your expense. Your job was never to save them. Your job is to save your own peace, and tonight that is exactly what you are doing. There is freedom on the other side of letting go, chosen one, more freedom than you can currently imagine. Picture your life without that tightness in your chest every time your phone buzzes. Picture waking up without immediately bracing yourself for conflict. Picture walking into a room and feeling only calm because the person who used to drain that calm no longer holds space in your life. That future is not a fantasy. That future is being built right now, in this exact moment, as you release what was never meant to stay. Heaven is not asking you to become hardened or bitter. Heaven is asking you to become discerning. There is a profound difference between a heart that has closed itself off from love and a heart that has simply learned who deserves access to it. You can still be deeply loving. You can still be endlessly compassionate. You simply no longer have to offer that compassion to people who consistently prove they will misuse it. Discernment is not the opposite of love. Discernment is what protects love, so it can be given safely to people who will actually cherish it. You are entering a season where your energy finally matches your worth. No more explaining yourself to people determined to misunderstand you. No more shrinking to fit into spaces that were always too small for who you really are. No more silencing your intuition because someone else's comfort felt more important than your own truth. This season is about alignment, chosen one, aligning your actions with your worth, aligning your boundaries with your peace, aligning your circle with people who actually deserve a place in your life. Before you sleep tonight, take a moment to notice how far you have already come. You are not the same person who first absorbed all that pain without question. You are not the same person who apologized instinctively for simply existing. You are someone who is learning slowly and steadily to trust your own perception again. That growth did not happen by accident. That growth happened because your spirit refused to stay asleep, no matter how many people tried to keep it dim. God is not finished with you, chosen one. Everything you have survived was not the end of your story. It was the preparation for the next chapter. The very pain that once felt like it would break you completely has instead been quietly building your discernment, your strength, and your capacity to protect your own peace. Nothing you went through was wasted. Every tear taught you something. Every disappointment sharpened your intuition. Every moment of feeling unseen deepened your understanding of exactly what real love should look like when it finally arrives. You are being prepared for people who will actually match your energy. People who show up consistently, not conveniently. People who apologize sincerely, not strategically. People who see your softness as a gift to protect, not a weakness to exploit. These people exist, chosen one, and heaven is clearing the space for them to enter your life by first removing everyone who was never capable of appreciating you the way you deserved. Tonight, before you sleep, speak this quietly to yourself. I release what was never mine to carry. I release the guilt of choosing my own peace. I release the belief that my sensitivity makes me weak. I release every relationship that required me to disappear in order to keep it. I welcome rest. I welcome clarity. I welcome the version of my life where my energy is protected, not extracted. You are allowed to rest tonight without solving everything. You are allowed to close your eyes without having the perfect plan for tomorrow. Healing is not a straight line, and it does not require perfection. It simply requires honesty, and tonight you have been deeply honest with yourself. That honesty alone is a form of prayer. That honesty alone is a form of progress. As you drift off tonight, know that you are not walking into tomorrow the same way you walked into today. Something has shifted in you while reading these words. A weight has loosened, even if only slightly. A truth has settled, even if it is still tender. This is how real transformation begins, quietly, in moments just like this one, far from any audience, far from any performance, just you and the truth heaven wanted you to finally hear. You were never meant to spend your whole life shrinking for people who never once considered shrinking for you. You were never meant to apologize for a light that makes insecure people uncomfortable. You were never meant to carry burdens that were never yours simply because you were the only one strong enough to hold them. Tonight, you set some of that down. Tonight, you choose yourself, not out of bitterness, but out of a love for your own life that has been long overdue. If this message found you tonight, it found you for a reason. Someone else in your life is carrying this exact same exhaustion, quietly, without anyone noticing. Share this message with them. You never know whose night this could change. Sometimes the smallest act, sending one message, becomes the exact lifeline someone else desperately needed but was too afraid to ask for. Follow this page if these words reached something inside you tonight, chosen one. This space exists to remind you again and again that you are not alone in what you carry. Every message here is designed to help you protect your peace, trust your intuition, and remember exactly who you are, even on the nights when the world made you forget. By staying connected here, you are choosing to keep receiving reminders exactly when you need them most. You are deeply loved, chosen one, even on the nights it does not feel that way. You are seen even by the people who pretend not to notice. You are protected even in moments that felt completely unguarded. Heaven has never once looked away from you, not during the loneliest nights, not during the hardest goodbyes, not during the moments you questioned whether any of this pain would ever make sense. It makes sense now. It is making sense tonight. Close your eyes tonight, knowing that your season of exhaustion is ending. Your season of restoration is beginning. You do not have to earn this rest. You do not have to prove you deserve this peace. You simply have to receive it, the same way you have always given so freely to others. Let tonight be the night you finally let yourself receive. Walk into tomorrow lighter than you walked into today. Walk forward knowing that everything hidden in the dark has already been seen by heaven, and everything you have carried in silence has already been recorded and answered. You are not who they said you were. You are not too sensitive, too much, or too difficult. You are exactly who God intended you to be. And tonight, before you sleep, that truth finally gets to rest quietly inside you, undisturbed, unshaken, and completely, permanently yours. There is one more thing heaven wants you to understand before we go deeper, and it has to do with why this pain felt so personal. It felt personal because you gave it permission to be personal. You attached your worth to how these people treated you, and when they treated you poorly, some part of you concluded that you must have deserved it. But chosen one, other people's capacity to love you correctly was never a measurement of your value. A person who cannot pour water from an empty cup is not making a statement about the quality of the cup. They are simply empty. Their emptiness was never about you. You have spent so much time asking, "What is wrong with me?" when the real question was always, "What is happening within them?" That shift in perspective alone can lift years of unnecessary guilt off your shoulders tonight. You do not have to carry blame that was never yours. You do not have to keep auditioning for love from people who already decided long before you arrived that they did not know how to give it fully. Their limitations were set in motion long before you ever entered the picture, and no amount of your goodness could have rewritten a story that started without you. Let's go a little deeper tonight, chosen one, because heaven doesn't want you leaving this message with only half the truth. There is a pattern to how this exhaustion built itself inside you, layer by layer, until it became something you barely noticed was even there. It did not happen in one dramatic moment. It happened slowly, in 1,000 small compromises you made without realizing you were making them. Every time you stayed quiet instead of saying what you truly felt. Every time you said yes when your entire body was screaming no. Every time you chose someone else's comfort over your own peace. None of those moments felt significant on their own. But together, they built the exhaustion that finally brought you here tonight. You learned somewhere along the way that your needs were an inconvenience. Maybe it started in childhood, watching how certain emotions were welcomed in your home and others were quietly shut down. Maybe it started in a friendship, where speaking honestly meant losing the friendship entirely. Maybe it started in a relationship where your partner made you feel like wanting basic respect was somehow asking too much. Wherever it started, it taught you the same lesson over and over. Shrink yourself and you will be accepted. Chosen one, that lesson was a lie, and tonight, heaven is finally correcting it. You were never designed to make yourself smaller so someone else could feel more comfortable in your presence. You were never designed to soften the truth until it became unrecognizable just to avoid someone else's discomfort. You were never designed to abandon your own feelings mid-sentence because the other person's reaction felt more important than your own honesty. This pattern kept you safe for a while, but it also kept you exhausted. And safety built on self-abandonment is not real safety at all. It is simply a slower, quieter kind of harm. Think about how much energy you have spent managing other people's emotions instead of honoring your own, reading the room before you speak, softening every request until it barely resembles what you actually wanted, apologizing before anyone even asked you to. This is not kindness, chosen one. This is exhaustion disguised as kindness. Real kindness does not require you to disappear. Real kindness can exist alongside honesty, alongside boundaries, alongside a version of you that takes up exactly as much space as you were always meant to take. Heaven wants you to notice something tonight, something that might be difficult to admit at first. Some of your exhaustion did not come only from what others did to you. Some of it came from what you allowed over and over because you were afraid of what would happen if you finally stopped. You were afraid that if you set a boundary, you would lose the relationship entirely. You were afraid that if you said no, you would be labeled selfish. You were afraid that if you finally chose yourself, everyone else would leave. Chosen one, that fear kept you small for a long time, but fear was never meant to be the architect of your entire life. What if the people who leave when you set a boundary were never actually loving you in the first place? What if they were only loving the version of you that made their life easier, the version that never pushed back, never questioned, never asked for more? That is not love. That is convenience wearing love's mask, and heaven does not want you spending one more night mourning the loss of something that was never truly yours to begin with. Real love does not flee the moment you finally start respecting yourself. Real love adjusts, apologizes, and grows alongside you. There is a difference between people who leave because you finally protected your peace and people who leave because your peace was never their priority to begin with. The first kind of departure stings for a moment, but ultimately makes room for something healthier. The second kind of departure was inevitable the entire time. You simply delayed it by continuing to abandon yourself to keep them close. Either way, chosen one, the departure is not proof of your failure. It is proof that your standards finally caught up to your worth. Let's talk honestly about the nights you spent wondering what was wrong with you. The nights you replayed conversations over and over, searching for the moment you must have done something to deserve the coldness you received. The nights you convinced yourself that if you had just said something differently, reacted differently, loved a little harder, things would have turned out differently. Chosen one, please hear this clearly tonight. Nothing was wrong with you. You were simply giving your full effort to people who were only ever giving you a fraction of theirs. You cannot love someone into treating you correctly. You cannot give enough, sacrifice enough, or understand enough to transform someone who has already decided, consciously or unconsciously, that taking is easier than giving. This is one of the hardest truths a chosen one ever has to learn, and heaven is delivering it to you gently tonight, so you do not have to learn it the hard way one more time. Some people are not capable of reciprocity, not because you failed to inspire it, but because reciprocity requires a level of self-awareness they have not yet developed and may never develop at all. This is not your responsibility to fix. Repeat that tonight until it settles somewhere deep inside you. It was never your responsibility to fix them. It was never your responsibility to make them capable of love. It was never your responsibility to stay in pain while waiting for someone else's growth that may never come. Your only responsibility tonight and every night moving forward is to protect the light you carry, because that light took years to build, and it deserves more protection than it has been given. Heaven wants you to picture something before you sleep tonight. Picture the version of yourself 5 years from now, having fully honored this moment of clarity. Picture her waking up without dread. Picture her walking into rooms without bracing for impact. Picture her speaking her mind without immediately apologizing for taking up space. That version of you is not a fantasy, chosen one. That version of you is being built right now, tonight, through the exact decision you are making in this very moment to finally listen to your own intuition instead of silencing it. You are allowed to grieve the relationships that could have been beautiful but never were. You are allowed to grieve the version of a parent, a friend, a partner that you deserved but never received. Grief and growth are not opposites. Chosen one, they walk together. You can hold sadness for what was lost and still move forward into what is being built. Healing was never about pretending the pain did not happen. It was always about refusing to let that pain define the rest of your story. There will be moments after tonight where old patterns try to creep back in. A familiar voice will call, and part of you will want to answer the way you always have, softening yourself, apologizing first, making yourself smaller to keep the peace. In those moments, remember tonight. Remember this exact clarity. Remember that peace built on self-abandonment was never real peace at all. It was simply the absence of conflict, purchased at the cost of your own truth. Heaven is not asking you to become someone unrecognizable. Heaven is asking you to become fully yourself, without apology, without shrinking, without constant translation for people who refuse to understand you anyway. The chosen one who walks forward from tonight is not colder or harder. She is clearer. She knows her worth is not up for negotiation, and she no longer confuses being loved with being used. You are going to feel lighter starting tomorrow, chosen one, even if the changes around you are not immediately visible. The heaviness you have carried begins loosening the moment you stop justifying your own exhaustion as normal. The moment you stop explaining your pain to people determined to minimize it. The moment you finally believe, all the way down to your bones, that you deserve peace just as much as anyone else you have ever poured yourself into helping. Before you close your eyes tonight, take one more quiet moment. Place your hand over your chest and simply breathe. You do not need to fix everything tonight. You do not need to have every answer, every plan, every next step figured out before you sleep. You simply need to rest, knowing that something has shifted, knowing that heaven has seen every quiet sacrifice, and knowing that your season of extraction is finally, completely ending. One final truth before you rest tonight, chosen one. Everything you have read here was not meant to make you angry at your past. It was meant to make you gentle with your future. Anger fades, but gentleness with yourself is what actually carries you forward into the life heaven has already prepared. You do not need to relive every wound tonight to prove you understand them. You simply need to release your grip on them, one breath at a time, and let heaven carry what was always too heavy for you to carry alone. Tomorrow, you will wake up as someone slightly different than who fell asleep last night. Not because anything outside of you has changed yet, but because something inside you finally has. That inner shift is where every real transformation begins, quietly, invisibly, long before the outside world catches up to what your spirit already knows. Trust that shift, chosen one. Protect it, nurture it the way you have always nurtured everyone else, and watch how quickly your entire life begins to reflect the peace you have decided to finally choose. Rest now, chosen one, fully and completely. The weight you carried into tonight is not the weight you carry into tomorrow. Sleep well, chosen one. You have already won more than you realize.